This coverage of the 2011 Renault Simola Hillclimb is brought to you by Renault South Africa. Drive the change. The coastal town of Knysna is one of the jewels of the Garden Route, but once a year it takes on a completely different character when the annual Renault Simola Hillclimb comes to town, a unique motorsport event that sees classics, exotics and racing cars tackle a twisty 2-kilometre course up Simola Hill. 2 years ago, the inaugural Knysna Hillclimb was won by racing icon Cyril van der Merwe. Last year, in wet and stormy conditions, it was the turn of another legend, Jeff Mortimer, to take the King of the Hill title. The Hillclimb attracts motorsport names from past and present, together with amateurs and gentleman racers competing in an eclectic array of machinery. The racing is serious and the event is sanctioned by Motorsport South Africa, but there's also a strong social element that makes for a relaxed atmosphere up and down the pit lane.
This year was definitely a short lead time for us to get the next one going, but as we explained last year, there were good reasons for changing to May, and I think it's proven itself. Town normally at this point in time is very quiet, and a lot of the establishments are fully booked, and town is pretty full. So, that was objective number one, and I think we've hit that one on the head. Renault came on board last year. They just turned this event around from what it was in year one. Year one was a really low-key event, but with Renault support last year, we upped the ante and made it a really strong event. And this year again, their support's been absolutely invaluable. They bring in the media once again, having a launch at the same time, and on so many levels, they're fantastic. So we're very happy to have them involved, and we hope and do believe that the event will give them the return that they're looking for, and that they'll be back next year with us again.
It's fantastic because Knysna is respecting what Renault is about. It's about casual, sport, enthusiastic. People are not taking it too seriously, so there's no distance between the drivers and the people. That's what we are. We want to be a brand close to the customer and giving some excitement and some flair. So Knysna, Renault, perfect match.
Another supporter of the event is Simola CEO Avril Kashula.
Obviously, with the Simola Homeowners Association, I need to thank them again because a weekend like this sometimes can be an inconvenience for them. But generally, we've had buy-in from all of our neighbours. We've had buy-in from Eden Municipality, Knysna Municipality. It's a great event, and it's good to know that everybody is behind the event.
Kashula isn't just a keen sponsor; he's also an enthusiastic competitor. But at the sharp end of the field, a battle royal was brewing. The Nissan GTR of Wilhelm Barth was one of the chief protagonists.
Look, Jeff had a very hard time last year. His clutch was a problem all weekend, and he came right at the end. So Jeff was nowhere on the time sheets. Nobody worried about him, and Jeff being an old fox and very experienced in these type of things. So yeah, he came through right at the end.
That last-minute performance earns Mortimer the 2010 victory, but would he be able to repeat that feat this year?
We had some clutch problems last year which we weren't able to sort out until the Sunday, but now we're going well.
Saturday's action started with a series of practice sessions allowing the drivers to get used to the conditions and to set up their cars accordingly. But the Hillclimb is only one part of what the organisers call the Knysna Speed Festival.
It's actually hard to believe the event's only 3 years old sometimes. But yeah, this year we added another weekend. We had a day-night go-kart race on Teeson Island. We've had motor shows become part of the Speed Festival. We've had slot car challenges. We've had soapbox derbies, and now the Hillclimb rounding it off. So it's been a full week's activity, but it's been successful and a lot of fun. So I think the town and people who visited town for it have all had a very good time.
The Soapbox Derby was an early highlight of the Speed Festival. A locally designed soapbox cart was provided in kit form and had to be assembled by the teams, all learners from local schools, before they could take part. A section of the Simola Hill was closed off on the Friday before the Hillclimb, and the teams lined up for several heats down the treacherous slope. The tension was running high. The start may look almost painfully slow, but the soapbox carts soon picked up momentum, and both skill and courage were required to steer them safely across the finish line. While some parents looked on anxiously, the team supporters were clearly having a good time. The best pilots managed speeds in excess of 40 kilometers an hour, impressive given the basic technology employed. Some managed to keep it all together, while others found their steeds too much to handle. For the top guns, there was the satisfaction of winning and basking in the adulation of their supporters.
I thought the other carts were going to beat me, but in the end it was really good and it was a good fun race.
Expect the derby to be even bigger and better next year. At the very heart of the Simola Hillclimb is a serpentine stretch of tar that winds its way up Simola Hill. Because it's only 1.9 kilometers long, a clean, quick start of the line is critical, as is carrying as much speed as possible through the first right-hand sweep, which is where the hilly section actually starts. Getting through that first corner quickly and smoothly means more momentum as you head up the incline. Most cars will continue to accelerate strongly, so that turn 2 comes up quicker than expected. You'll need to brake or gear down or even both, depending on the car, before negotiating this treacherous left-hander. From here, the next 2 turns are nice and progressive with a constant radius, while the last 2 are tighter and more taxing. You'll want to use as much road as possible to straighten out the corners and prevent scrubbing off speed all the way to the flying finish. One of the hallmarks of the hill climb is the variety of cars it attracts.
We've got historics, nice historics. We've got some very fast supercar, GT type cars. We've got some race cars. So a really nice mix of cars, and which is what we wanted. We'd like to give the spectators a variety of entertainment, a variety of cars, and for the competitors too. It's nice that they can bring out their old cars for those that race old cars, and the latest Ferrari for the guys who want to race the latest Ferrari.
For the 2011 event, the organisers also made some changes to the rules.
Well, yeah, we've gone back to almost what we had in year one. In year one, we had quite a few classes which spread the field. And then last year, because we had such a variety of cars, we thought we would run a handicap system and then the fastest overall. But the feedback from competitors was they'd rather have classes.
The classic and historic cars compete in a race within a race, and these nicely turned out racing machines add an element of nostalgia and old world charm to the hill climb. Besides, it's great to see old rare cars from brands like Marcos, Riley and MG being driven with gusto. Of course, there were more modern racing and road-going machines too. The raucous Mazda Capella Rotary was a crowd favourite, as was this Porsche 917 replica. The lightweight and futuristic Aerial Atom was posting fast times, while the loudest car was undoubtedly Nico van Rensburg's red-hot City Golf. Whether you're an Alphasud fan, a Subaru STI supporter, or prefer older Opel Cadets and Skylines, this event has it all. One of the young guns at the 2011 Hill Climb was Jade Goodsight, driving a modified Nissan GTR.
A lot of the race here is in the first couple hundred meters, getting off the line nicely, and the R35 GTRs are obviously electronically controlled and they get away without wheel spinning much, and Jeff Mortimer is doing very well in his Mitsubishi Evo.
As the defending champion, Mortimer was the man everyone was watching, and his early time certainly proved the attention was warranted.
I see the times now for the first run pretty quick, which we were expecting from some of the high horsepower Nissan GTRs, but I just had a nice exploratory run up the hill this morning.
That first practice run still produced a 46-second time, but it was Wilhelm Bart who was setting the early pace, posting 44 seconds in his first practice.
Jeff and me at it again. Look, the other guys I'm sure are going to get quicker and times will get better through the weekend as guys get their cars better.
Bart wasn't the only quick GTR pilot. Darren Goodmans posted a 45-second time in his first practice and was driving his Nissan GTR with intent.
Last year we came out and the conditions were atrocious, and we made the best of it, but this year it's looking really good. We've got the good sides out in force, we've got Jeff, we all know Jeff, and we've got Wilhelm here in a very pretty green car. But yeah, we're there or thereabouts, the car's working well.
But then disaster struck. Pushing hard, Goodmans lost control after the flying finish and went off the road, ending his chances on the spot. Shane Goodsight struggled to get to grips with his older GTR initially, but his times were improving with each practice run. He was lucky to get away with this one though. Willem van der Riet wasn't as fortunate. Too much wheelie in turn 2 put the Audi R8 V10 into the inside bank.
Oh, just overcooked it on the corner, eh? Put too much juice coming out. Just a bit, shaken. You don't want that to happen.
The spectators arrived in their thousands and were enjoying the thrills and the spills. An interesting event on the program was the so-called Brat Pack Challenge that pitted former touring car and production car aces against each other in identical Renault Megane RS Cup cars. In action were the likes of Mike Briggs, Jeff Goddard, Dion Joubert, Robbie Smith, Philip Kukana and Duncan Foss. The racing was close, with Joubert eventually setting the fastest time, a blistering 49.7 seconds. Former motocross world champion Jean-Michel Bale and RPM TV's Dion Skuman were also in identical Meganes.
Jean-Michel Bale and myself have been quite close, 0.1, 0.2 of a second. At this stage we'd like to get into the 50s. I'm not sure what his time was now in the last run. I've upped my tyre pressures and the car seems to feel better.
But not good enough as it turned out. The wily Bale ended up the fastest of the two, about 0.7 of a second, to book his place in the final. There will be more action from the Renault Simola Hillclimb in Knysna after the break. Welcome back to the Renault Simola Hillclimb, proudly presented by Renault South Africa. The Simola Hillclimb attracted some international participants too.
It's actually quite amazing. You know, we've got an entrant from Australia who's actually even put some money into sponsoring the event.
The man in question, Andrew Waller.
Well, I think that was also, I'd had a few beers and that was another pledge I think I made. Oh, it was fantastic, you know. I mean, my background's circuit racing, so to do something different like a hill climb has been fantastic. You know, it's the first time I've ever done anything in South Africa, I suppose, and also a hill climb. So it's just something new and exciting, and meeting some great new people, seeing some serious cars, a lot of horsepower too. So it's always good to see different forms of motorsport, you know.
We've got a German gentleman who's come out especially for the event. Or he visits Knysna quite regularly, but he's come to compete. He's made a point of being here.
Since I'm a member of the Garden Road Motor Club, I was marshalling here at the last event. I was asked just to participate. That's what I did. So I got myself this beauty which is standing behind me, and yes, here I am. It's my first race. It's a Triumph TR3 and it's 1956 model. I bought it last year at the local dealer here in Knysna. It's slightly modified. It's just to improve a little bit the performance of the car, but it's nothing special. I mean, next week it will revert to normal street conditions, and then you can just drive it up and down everywhere. So this is a marvelous car. You can race it and you can use it for everyday traffic.
Cryer was one of a significant group of classic car drivers who entered the hill climb and were competing in a race within a race that included an Indexa performance handicap. The crowd favourite was this 1973 Jaguar XJ6 Series 1, piloted by Ashley Ellis. It looked quite modern compared to the Riley TT Sprite of Roy Jones and the nicely turned out 1960 MGA of Chris Champion. The rose among the classic Carthorns was Di Dugmore in this Lotus 23, while the LDS F1 single-seater was piloted by Dave Alexander. Rodney Green gave it stick in this Bristol Cooper, while the Lotus Elan was piloted by Steve Crook. This Lola Formula Ford was driven with great enthusiasm by the young Julian van Rensburg. It was previously campaigned by South Africa's F1 world champion Jody Scheckter. Scheckter also raced Renault Gordinis in his youth.
Gordini is a legend. I think perhaps I'm starting to get old, but I will remember all my life the famous Renault R8. The R8 was actually everything about Renault is that it was a normal car but doing fantastic things, and the passion around that. Everything was about passion. You had sometimes some Gordini days. And still these days, you've got on the Bugatti in Le Mans, you've got some people coming with the Gordini in the same stage, immaculate, and showing the car like a piece of jewel, and driving all together and sharing the same passion as the blue and the G-Force, the Gordini Force. Yeah. Gordini is giving a little bit of luxury and flair and something you can recognize, the blue and the stripe.
Celebrating the Gordini heritage in a more modern context is the Clio Gordini RS, a new Renault model used for a one-make Hillclimb media challenge that pitted motoring scribes against each other. The journalists proved their mettle, pushing the 147 kilowatt mean machine to the limit as they did battle for top honours. Top Car's Ashley Oldfield eventually posted the quickest time. Meanwhile, the pace in the main Hillclimb event was hotting up as the practice sessions ended and qualifying began. Among the crowd favourites were two E30 generation BMW 325iS sedans. This example is campaigned by Johann Zulch. The Winfield BMW 325iS used to be raced by the late great Tony Viana, and now fully restored was piloted with great gusto by Robbie Smith until a broken gearbox spigot spelt the end of the road for its Hillclimb efforts. Another ex-Tony Viana BMW is this rare 745i, also restored by Evolution 2 and now driven by Paolo Cavalieri. The car's tall gearing made for less than spectacular starts, but it showed good pace up the hill. One of two Ashley V8 saloon car races was this example, shared by Charles Arton and Ian Scheckter. The two were running in the top order throughout, despite the car being a handful on the tight and bumpy course. Easily the best sounding car on the hill was Robert Scott's Ferrari. Quincy Sale was in action in this older Nissan GTR. The Porsche 911 Turbo of Les Porter and Simola Boss Kashula's Audi R8 looked quick too, as did the GTR of Greg Parton. A major reason for the Hillclimb's growing success is the support it receives from Knysna and its inhabitants. The event dominates the town for the entire weekend, and the Hillclimb route means that the Simola Road needs to be closed. But the buy-in from the town and the local community is overwhelming, with the organisers running out of tickets on both days. This level of support is vital for the long-term future of an event that is showing tremendous long-term promise. Simola's Avril Kashula agrees.
Well, I think, if this is year 3, and if you have a look at the progression in the event over the last 3 years, I think the long-term prognosis is, if we can just keep things tidy, this event's going to be around for a long time, and I'm sure it's going to rival all the other major motorsport events in the country.
The feedback from last week when we started with the go-kart race, I think the shop owners are very happy. The feedback we get, the townsfolk are very happy. They've embraced it. And in year 1, no one knew what a Hillclimb was, or a lot of people didn't know what motorsport was in this town. But they really are embracing it. The town council's embraced it very, very strongly. The traffic department, everybody, we get such good support. And Knysna Tourism from day 1 has been fantastic. And really, without all the support from the council and the town, and obviously Simola as well, we can't forget Simola Estate, they give us so much to put this event on, and without all those key partners we just wouldn't be able to do it.
The The Simola Hillclimb brings the action and excitement of motorsport to an area that has no permanent motorsport facilities. The spectacle of seeing performance cars, sports cars, racing machines and modified cars in action on a piece of road that many locals know well is highly appealing, while the format provides for 2 days of almost non-stop action. This year, the lessons learnt over the past 2 events also meant smoother organisation, improved parking and less traffic congestion. With qualifying over, the scene was set for an exciting do-or-die final, with the 4 fastest contenders in each class participating in a final single-run contest for glory. Thuka Mechanikos has entered all 3 Hillclimb events, and his Mercedes-Benz C55 AMG is one of the most powerful in the field. He was looking good for a top 10 finish, eventually taking 9th place. Martin van Zummeren in his Nissan Skyline GTR looked spectacular as he manhandled the big machine through the corners and into 8th. The Ashley V8, shared by Ian Schechter and Charles Arton, took 10th and 7th, with Schechter's time only 0.4 seconds slower than Arton's. Fabio Tofani was even faster in his almost identical Ashley V8, posting a 45.194 second time to finish in 6th spot. Fifth place belonged to Greg Parton in his stock Nissan GTR R35 after a consistent performance and a time of 44.741 seconds. Des Gutzeit, whose starts off the line were among the most spectacular of the event, was pleased with 4th spot in his wild modified Nissan GTR. Defending champion Mortimer, unbeatable in the wet last year, had to be content with 3rd in the Lancer Evo. Showing tremendous pace all weekend, it came as no surprise that Jade Gutzeit put his modified Nissan GTR into 2nd.
One of the main